Air Canada flight attendants are challenging a return to work order they called unconstitutional. That comes after a government decision to force them back to their duties as of 2 p.m. today. We're going to go live to CP24's Andrew Brennan at Pearson Airport with the details in terms of what's happening now. And for a lot of travelers, it means still lots of canceled flights.
It does mean a lot of canceled flights. In fact, I have an update on that we can share in just a few minutes. But Lindsay, we've gone inside Pearson International's airport, and actually we're looking operationally at what goes on behind the scenes at Air Canada. Joining me now is the Chief Operations Officer for Canada's flagship airline, Mark Nasr. Thank you for your time today. We're looking at those that are still a part of Air Canada that are at work today. There's clearly quite a lot of you that still have to keep things, even if they're not in the air, keep things running. What's going on? What is going on right now, and how has this day been for you?
Thank you so much. Look, my concern, our entire company's concern, is our customers, particularly those that are stranded at their destination. We've got to get the planes back in the sky. We've got to get Canadians moving again. What's happening here right now is my coworkers are supporting our Toronto Pearson operation. And on a normal day, they'd be supporting 40,000 customers moving through this airport. We should be back in the air right now, but due to this illegal strike directive from CUPE to our flight attendants, we're still grounded and our customers are still facing disruption and uncertainty. That's what's on my mind.
Well, Mark, thinking about how this can ultimately change, or what can stop this impasse or otherwise to describe it. I know Air Canada had already sent a cease and desist letter to the president of AC Component over communications that were described as potentially being an incitement to illegal strike activity. What recourses, either from legal or otherwise, does Air Canada have to potentially change refusal to work?
You'd have to ask CUPE why they're keeping this airline grounded with their illegal strike directive to the Air Canada flight attendants. We should be back in the air right now. In fact, this second, we can resume operations if CUPE were to rescind their illegal strike directive.
And if they don't, because we need to presume right now that they say that they won't until they get what they describe as a fair contract. If that is their position, what can Air Canada do about it?
To be clear, the ground pay issue is settled. Air Canada flight attendants will be paid for their time on the ground in the new agreement. You'd have to ask CUPE why they're insisting to keep Air Canada grounded right now with their illegal strike directive.
I will understand and expect that you cannot litigate part of a collective agreement that is not even an agreement in principle yet in the media. However, they say that that ground pay is still very much an issue, and that 38% offer that was given from your side of the bargaining table did not have enough upfront. So to that, I understand you may not be able to get into specifics, but they have specific grievances that they say that you're not addressing. So what do you say to that?
To be clear, the ground pay issue is settled. Air Canada flight attendants will be compensated for their time on the ground in the new agreement. The important thing, let's get the planes back in the air. Let's get Canadians moving again. Let's restore air service. The Canadian economy and our travelers depend on it.
Well, I know that many people depend on Air Canada. It is the biggest airline in this country. And you said 40,000 passengers through this airport during the summer. That is 1 in 4 passengers on average going through Pearson International during high season, just from Air Canada. So I understand that we want this to end, but it's not just about you and me saying that it can end now. CUPE has said that they are being paid what they describe as a poverty wage. I've seen T4s from people that say they work at Air Canada, and I can best as I can say that these are accurate. And they give me a T4 that has $20,000 for year 1, and year 5 is $33,000 and change. They say that this is not enough to live on, and I know Air Canada has said before that they want their flight attendants to be the best paid in the country. But if that is still at a level around at that point where they say that they cannot live, and if you were on $34,000, I don't know if either of us could either. What do you say to them who say that they are not getting what they deserve, and they're saying this at the same time that Air Canada's fourth quarter profits were amongst the best ever, operating revenue of $22 billion?
We have no issue with Air Canada's flight attendants. In fact, they're caught between a rock and a hard place. On the one side, we're asking them to come back to work, and on the other side, they're hearing from their union with this illegal directive that they should continue striking. The union must rescind this illegal directive. Of course, our flight attendants should be compensated more than they are right now, and that's exactly what will happen in a new agreement. And the ground pay issue is settled. Air Canada flight attendants will be compensated for their time on the ground in the new contract.
Well, again, I know that I'm asking more than I could probably be expected to get as an answer. They are saying that even if you're saying ground pay is resolved, they say it's not. Is it a question of how much of an hourly wage it is? I know Delta started at roughly what? I think it was roughly a third of their hourly wage. That was what they offered in 2022. Can you say anything about to what degree this ground pay issue has been solved in any concrete terms?
You'd really have to ask CUPE why they continue with this illegal strike directive. My focus right now, the entire company's focus, is on getting our planes back in the air and restoring air service. That's the most important things right now. We cannot lose sight of the fact that we've got Canadians around the country, around the world, families, businesses that depend on transportation. This is the peak of the summer, and that's where our focus needs to be.
So, Mark, thinking a little bit about operations and what happens if we do not get planes in the sky, as was hoping to have happened at 2 p.m. today. Airplanes are not supposed to be on the ground for a long time. So what happens if this goes on more than just one more day?
As we said earlier, the restart will take several days. And unfortunately, now that we've had this additional day of illegal strike action due to CUPE's directive, we're now in a position where tomorrow we're going to have to do maintenance, additional maintenance on our aircraft, because many of them have been sitting now on the ground for 72 hours. I can't emphasize how important it is that we get the planes back in the sky, that we get Canadians moving again. I call upon CUPE, please rescind this illegal directive, and let's get our flight attendants back to work. Let's serve our customers, and the arbitration process will resolve the issue.
Just asking very quickly about the arbitration process. Was it always was it always Air Canada's hope that things would go to arbitration? It was offered to the union before we got to the strike.
You'd have to ask CUPE how we arrived here.
Well, from the standpoint of CUPE, a lot of it, they say, has to do with Air Canada. Your name is not the one they're chanting out there. They're chanting the CEO, Michael Russo's name. But they have particular grievances, and they are turning and pointing it back at you. So is it really up to CUPE that ultimately they have the power to end this? Air Canada has. Is there anything from a legal standpoint or otherwise that you can do beyond appealing for them to stop?
Our flight attendants deserve a significant increase in their compensation, but that's an issue for tomorrow. The issue today is we've got to get the planes back in the sky. We've got to get Canadians moving again. There are way too many businesses, too many families, too many people relying on us right now, and that's really where the focus needs to be.
Mark, I appreciate your time today. Is there anything else that you want to say potentially to Canadians as this is, I know that at the end of every statement coming from Air Canada's media team, there's generally been, except for the one today, I will say, there's always been, we apologize to our travelers for the inconvenience. I know we're leaving it a little open right now. Do you have anything you want to say to Canada?
Of course. When any Canadian buys a ticket on Air Canada, they expect and they deserve the service to be delivered. Right now, we are failing to live up to that promise, and we are deeply, deeply sorry for that. We're doing everything possible to work with all stakeholders to get the planes back in the sky and get you moving again. And we're going to continue, my coworkers throughout the company, on the phones in our contact centers, here at the airports, and everywhere in between. We will not stop until we get and address every single customer and get them on their way safely.
Well, I'm sorry, I just have to ask then, do you have that same resolve potentially for the reputation of Air Canada following what's been going on today? There's many that have had some concerns knowing that there are flight attendants that they say are getting paid $1,900 a month pre-taxes and trying to live in this city.
We're blessed to be the country's flag carrier, and we have a set of responsibilities associated with that. Of course, we're going to have to regain and rebuild the trust of our flight attendants and all of our customers. And we're going to be focused on doing just that. But the first step to rebuilding that trust is we've got to get the planes back in the sky, and we've got to get our customers moving again. And that's our focus right now.
Mark Nasr, Chief Operations Officer of Air Canada, we thank you for your time on CP24. We're going to send it back inside as we stay inside here at Operations HQ inside Pearson International, which is a little quieter today than most days, even though it's pretty boisterous outside, Lindsay.